everybody. We have been talking a little bit about doing another live show in Brooklyn, and great news, we're doing it May 24.
That's a Sunday.
Sunday.
The Worst of All Possible Worlds presents The Gay Agenda. We are going to take a homophobic, unaired script of Adventures in Odyssey that I must stress is 100% real and not a bit.
It's real. It will sound like a bit when we are reading it, but I promise you, genuinely, we did not make this up.
It will stop sounding like a bit pretty quickly, though.
No. We could not have written something like this.
So what we're doing, instead of clipping it from the aired show, because it never aired, we are hiring New York Theater City actors to play the various roles of, say, your favorite characters, Rodney,
question mark,
interpreted by some of the finest lights of the theater community in 2026.
Some of whom are names that you will be familiar with.
Yeah, and none of whom are homophobic, hopefully.
True.
So we're going to tear this fucking thing apart, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing so. We hope to see you there. Tickets are $25 seated, $20 standing. Of course, there's a little bit of an extra Eventbrite fee. We don't control that. They're demons. They're demons from hell, but you got to give them the money to give us the money. We're going to have a lot of fun there. We're going to be selling some merchandise, doing all that good shit.
Drunkosaurus will see you
there. No.
Yes.
What? I assume that this has all been adversarial. That's the assumption. That's the assumption that I make. And so as we go into a conversation about a chorus line, I feel like an adversarial relationship between Zach and the cast. I am the cast, and you are all Zach.
We're auditioning you to be the fourth host of The Worst of All Possible Worlds.
Well, thank God. Yeah. Who am I up against? God, I hope I get it.
Oh. You're up against anyone who has ever guested with us.
That is true.
So,
so you've got
that's quite a few people.
Yeah, you've got like 60, 70 people who you're up against, probably.
Yeah, we did have to cut some of them because they weren't dancers, unfortunately.
Well,
and that is
a
prerequisite of this podcast.
First.
Yeah.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to The Worst of All Possible Worlds, the first and only dancer-first podcast. I'm the Worst of All Possible Brians.
I'm the Worst of All Possible AJs.
And I'm the Worst of All Possible Joshes, currently doing a little dance that you can't see.
But I can do that.
If you understood that reference that Brian just made, I've got great news for you about the remainder of this podcast. We're talking about A Chorus Line, the 1975 Broadway musical that has become one of the key staples, I think, of the musical theater canon.
At the very least, a stereotype for musical theater is that you can just say someone's really into a chorus line. And it's like, oh, that's a word from the theater and it's about the theater. There we go.
And joining us today to talk about this pivotal piece of musical theater, we have the one and only Heath Saunders. They are an actor, composer, but most importantly, a dancer first. Very important for our Dancer First podcast, that you might recognize from their appearances in Jesus Christ Superstar Live, Alice by Heart, the 2021 revival of Stephen Sondheim's Company, and Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812, which is where longtime listeners will recognize one of our drops.
Which will be me singing, actually.
Yeah. They're also...
I think I grabbed it from the Off-Broadway album.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I am not on that one. Yes, I joined.
We gotta get the Broadway.
I joined the Great Comet.
I'll grab the Broadway one for that.
yes, thank you.
ART.
They're also the co-founder, along with their siblings and mother, of Spectra.Theater, a new digital home for theater. Please welcome Heath Saunders.
Hi.
What is your experience with the chorus line? Is this a show that you just really like, or does it run deeper here?
What an interesting question to ask Heath Saunders.
Yeah.
Is it art?
Is it art? We'll get into it. I have a long-standing relationship with A Chorus Line because, like many theater people, it's a staple of the theatrical canon. My first encounter with it was the film version, which was in what, 85? Yeah, it was quite a bit later.
It was 10
and
years
it's not the same show in many ways, which we'll get into why that is and why that would be. But I didn't know that I was seeing an adaptation of a stage show. I just was like, this is the show A Chorus Line that my grandparents have a VHS tape of.
Yeah.
So I know you did the show in high school. Right?
Oh, really?
So you watched the movie before you even did the show.
Yeah, and I watched the movie before I even had a sense of theater as a concept.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I was talking like 7 years old.
Yes,
Six, seven. That was hello, 12. 13.
Hello 6, hello 7. Hella love.
That's pretty good.
This is gonna be good. Yeah, so I knew it when I was a kid, and then I started doing theater, and then I did it in high school. And what's interesting about the time I did it in high school, other than the fact that I played Mike Costa, which was weird for a lot of reasons, but we'll get into it. I was also doing 4 shows at the time that I did it. In high school, I was doing 4 different plays while I was doing a chorus.
Wait, was your high school producing all of them?
No, I did. There were 3 different community theater spaces. Okay. One, I was doing a play. I think I was choreographing the Fantastics at the time. And I was also in it. I was Bellamy in the Fantastics.
Okay.
And
Me too.
Oh, wow. We can only do one of the roles. And then I was doing a chorus line. And I am famously a dancer first, which is not true. Shocker, I know, because it does say that on my ex-Twitter account.
As I recall, the reason we landed on a chorus line is that you have some strong feelings and opinions, not just about the show itself, but also about the way that the show works and doesn't work, and how trying to do the show now does and mostly doesn't work.
Coming out of high school around that time was when Every Little Step happened, the Broadway revival.
And they did a documentary as they were casting
about casting a chorus line. And the interesting thing about this is that documentary is closer to what a chorus line is than anything that you would do today. So if you do a revival of a chorus line, to not do that documentary actually is like fundamentally misses the point of a chorus line. So I have this sort of like thesis statement, which is that the show that is a chorus line written in the 70s can't really be done effectively for a modern 2020s audience in a way that it will be impactful, because it is so much a period piece now that it becomes like a little slice of history, and a slice of history about a world that most people don't care about.
And not just a period piece, but a period piece that was motivated by some very specific material circumstances which don't exist anymore.
Exactly. It's a piece of documentary theater where a lot of the people on that stage are playing themselves and telling stories from their lives that have not been fictionalized. The names have been changed, and that's it. And I didn't really know this. I knew it. I mean, at some point I learned that fact, but like I was familiar with the chorus line because of the original cast album when I was in high school, which I listened to a ton.
Sure.
I never got a hold of the libretto until we decided to make this episode. And I got this off of Amazon.
Nice.
Just got some edition, and it's really
Shout
funny.
out Amazon.
Yes.
We love them.
This is not straight from Amazon. This was from a reseller of some kind. And I know that because I opened it up, and there is a program in here of some production of a chorus line that this happened.
Is it my production?
In 2005.
Okay, it's about the right time.
At the Westlake Dance Center. No shit. I opened it up. I was like, I wonder if I'll recognize any of the names of anyone in this. And then I just see your name.
This is literally my program.
I've got comp tickets here.
Are you joking?
Yeah.
We're
can
going,
see these.
right? We're going.
I have kept this a secret from everybody until just now, that this happened completely by random, by accident. And I was just like, okay, well, this is providence of some kind.
That's holy psychotic.
Heath right now is looking at their program, seeing their bio and their picture.
We haven't had an Ozymandias moment in a while. Jesus Christ, Brian.
My God, you should have introduced me with this.
I know, but I wanted to keep it a secret until we started getting it going.
Wait, hand me the thing and I'll introduce you with your bio from here.
All of my pronouns are wrong.
Okay, well, I'll just change it. Heath Saunders is proud to be part of such a wonderful cast. This is their first show with Westlake Dance Center. Ooh. You may have seen them in other Studio East productions, such as Kiss Me Kate and The Wizard of Oz. They're a junior at Inglemoor High School.
Wow.
I got kicked out soon after this.
And hope to continue their theater work.
You were doing too many shows?
And hope to continue their theater work at least until college. They send their thanks to all the support they get from friends and family, and a special thanks to the rest of the cast for their help on especially difficult dance combos. Break a leg, guys.
You pulled that out, and I was looking at it. I was like, I think that might be my program.
Oh, my God.
You literally...
And they've recreated the poster for a chorus line with the actual actors. That's Baby Heath.
Very impressive.
Baby me.
Oh, my God. Wait, I didn't even notice that. Holy shit. That's
crazy.
Amazing.
As long as we're talking about the book and sort of how this entire libretto came to be, we might as well talk about the man who pulled this entire show together, Michael Bennett.
So, although the people around might disagree with that statement.
Yes. not the sole author of this piece.
No, absolutely not.
Certainly the
engine?
the fulcrum. Yeah.
Once he got involved, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if I'm remembering this correctly, he was actually like brought in as like a consultant on the show.
It was his idea. The idea of doing
The
a
show
show
itself.
called A Chorus Line was his idea. The way he went about getting the actual material for the libretto itself came from a thing that he co-opted for his own.
A group
means.
of dancers coming together and saying, we want to start a repertory company. And in the 70s, you're getting this pretty significant, especially over the course of the 60s and 70s, a 20-year drop in jobs.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of people
unfamiliar.
who are like, Broadway's back, by the way.
Yeah. Never been more back.
We are so back.
They realize, like, we can't just specialize. You can't just have dancers and singers and actors. We have to start to learn how to become triple threats.
It's a multidisciplinary art form, right?
Shocker.
And so it's like, we're going to build a company that's just by dancers for dancers. Let's get Michael Bennett involved for like our first project. And then the project just becomes the whole
Well,
thing.
it becomes the Michael Bennett show, as so often happens when Michael Bennett gets involved with something, because this man had a
You're
formidable...
gesturing at AJ. It is AJ.
It's AJ.
I have his hair.
He's the
It is
closest
kind of
bald man.
striking.
Yeah.
I don't not
No,
look like Michael Bennett.
I'm gesturing at AJ because I believe he has prepared a little bit of material about
sure.
Michael Bennett and his backstory.
Yeah, so basically, he drops out of high school to play Baby John in West Side Story in both the U.S. and European tours.
Yeah.
He changed his last name to Bennett in honor of his high school. His high school was Bennett High School, and so that's where Michael Bennett comes from.
And I appreciate that you're educating me about this because I don't know any of this.
No, it's it's for everyone.
That sounded like it was sarcastic, but it wasn't.
No,
I'm sorry, I'm just used to really so much sarcasm from the other guy, from the other host.
From the other hosts, and then he's just pointing at me the whole time. So that's
My
how
body
much I'm
betrays
appreciated.
me, much like in a chorus line. So,
Oh, God.
so essentially, Michael Bennett gets pretty famous in New York for doing a show called Promises, Promises. He has 2 flops initially back to back for his choreography.
One of them isn't Promises, Promises? Oh,
No,
sorry.
Brian, no, that rules. It's a huge hit. It's like it's one big hit.
right.
This leads to Michael Bennett getting Twigs, which is his first directing
FKA
gig.
Twigs.
Yes, FKA Twigs. That's a non-musical play, but it's written by George Firth. And George Firth is the reason that Michael Bennett gets then attached to a musical called Company.
And what year was that again, Company? It was like
1970. That was
Yeah.
1970 on the dot.
He does Company, and then he does Follies like
Yes.
the year after.
He's like the big man in town, right? He gets this musical called Seesaw, which he works on.
Psych
Which
Woman.
he jumps in kind of at the end of it, I think, right? Like
Yes.
he wasn't there from the very start.
he's brought
and it's not
on-
where you start, it's where you finish.
That is. He briefly turned into a ghost, and then I saw their spirit return to their body.
But this is also at a time when the concept of a show doctor, which is a thing that we don't really have anymore. But
We have one very specific one who we'll be hearing about at the end of this
Sam
part.
Bolch, DDS.
Dr. Sam Bolch,
Yeah.
DDS.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, please continue.
Well, a show doctor is a person who usually is a successful director or choreographer who is brought into a show to functionally fix it. It's,
George
now,
Abbott was one of the really famous
Right.
ones.
Mike
back then.
Nichols.
Mike
Nichols.
The technique to get a show from regional to Broadway and fix it now is to throw more money at it.
Right.
But
Yes.
in the 70s, it was actually to hire an expert. And that person would come in as a show doctor. I'm truly just throwing barbs every direction I can.
And sometimes, genuinely, they would bring in a dentist from Long Island to do punch-ups.
Yes, specifically in the case
Yeah.
of Ken
Yes.
Ludwig and Moon Over Buffalo.
Yes.
Well, and a big part of this, too, is that you're moving fast.
Yeah.
You have an out-of-town tryout that lasts for like a month or 2 if you're crazy, and then you have like a month of previews, and then you open your show. So if you need a lot of work done on your show, you've got to call somebody, because now also, in addition to just throwing money at a project, you just make the project take a full decade before you bring it to Broadway.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Which we can talk about the merits of that structural change, and none of them are good.
Yes, demerits, I would say.
Yes, but people love to say it takes 10 years to make a musical, and I'm like, it really doesn't take 10 years to make a musical. What it takes is 10 years to build an audience of wealthy people for your musical, which is not the same thing.
That is 100% true. I will say the thing about Seesaw that I think is so fascinating is that
it was written by Cy Coleman.
It was. Yeah. No, but he was brought in as a script doctor for it, right? And then demands credit as writer, director, and choreographer, and gets it.
But that tells you everything you need to know about Michael Bennett in terms of what his entire deal is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's putting himself in the Holy Trinity with Jerome Robbins and Bob Fosse.
I was going to say, we're talking about a person whose entire career was built on his relationship to West Side Story and Jerome Robbins. And like that kind of tyrannical control of the artistic output is a thing that was learned, right?
Yeah,
like that's
absolutely.
not, there's a lot about it that I think is like really great, but you know, fundamentally, I, as a person who believes in the collaborative power of theater, that particular energy is a little hard for me, but you know.
Agreed. But Michael Bennett meets sort of his match, right, with somebody who is mostly his opposite in the downtown theater world. And that is, of course, Joe Papp at the Public Theater.
Yes. And Joe Papp is a man who we will be talking a lot more about in future episodes of this show because he's an object of fascination for me in particular. But what you really need to know about him is that he started up something called the New York Shakespeare Festival. Their whole thing was, hey, we're going to do Shakespeare and we're going to do it in the park for free. And
Joe Papp never took crap, except perhaps from writers.
Joe Papp encourages writers to fight for their frightening plays. Joe, what's your plan? Joe, dibba, 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 dibba.
He was a champion of artists, or he fashioned himself as one anyway.
Yeah, and he hated money people, I think is very specific. And he sees someone like Michael Bennett, who is extraordinarily good at getting what he wants, and especially from Broadway people specifically. And he's like, the Public Theater needs an injection of money somehow. We need a fucking hit.
But Papp is good at fighting, too.
Yes.
Right?
He fought Robert Moses.
He fought Robert Moses and won.
That's also a lyric in Elegies, the song Joe Papp.
Okay.
Even from Robert Moses. Joe saw a theater in Central Park, and Moses builds what Joe proposes. Moses builds an outdoor theater. Moses thinks it's pork, but it lights up New York. It lights up New York.
Pre-Shakespeare productions were receiving the ire of Robert Moses, and he took them to court, and they lifted him up and pulled down his pants and spanked him on his big red bottom.
And they were like, not only do you get to stay in the park.
They were allowed to. The judge was like, go ahead.
do it yourself.
See that big red bottom.
Like Joe Papp, not only do you get to stay in the park, you get a whole new big beautiful theater in the park. We're going to build you a theater in the park.
It was such the things that happen when there is structural political support for the arts.
The newly established Public Theater, which is now an outgrowth of the New York Shakespeare Festival, thanks to kicking Bob Moses' ass,
Spanking it.
They're spanking it. Sorry.
Big red bottom.
Yeah, they just spanked it.
Yeah.
They have had a big success with a new musical called Hair, which starts downtown, makes its way up to Broadway, and makes a fucking bundle.
Yeah.
And as a result of this, they are able to establish the Public Theater in the East Village at the Astor Place Library, which remains their home to this day. But in order to fund the massive capital costs of the renovation, because this is a big-ass building if you haven't been there, they could use some more money. And Joe Papp identifies a potential hit maker in Michael Bennett.
In the 70s, we see this big movement towards new musical theater. And there's kind of this question of like, where is that going? On one side, we have like Sondheim, who's making these elevated shows for a sophisticated New York audience. And then on the other side, you have like, well, theater used to be pop music. Let's bring in the popular music. Let's do something like Hair. Let's make it rock and roll.
And you've got
in the
really
70s, and then we've got stuff like,
Oh, Calcutta.
We've got
genuinely.
Melvin Van Peebles is producing musicals at this point in time. Like it's really kind of free for all as the markets keep going down in New York over the 60s and 70s. And the rock musical is really struggling to move forward after Hair. We get stuff like Via Galactica or Dude, or in the same season, of course, we have Rockabye Hamlet.
Crazy show.
Some of these shows are actually okay. not Dude, but
Dude is a really interesting show. Have you covered Dude?
We have not covered Dude, but we have covered Everyman. But what's interesting is that a chorus line, to me, feels like it's a fusion of both sensibilities at the same time. It's like Michael Bennett doing Follies again, but in this more kind of populist register. And the music, of course, the Hamlisch music is very 70s and very funky and extremely of its time.
You're sort of getting into one of my like theatrical allergies, which is false binaries, meaning the idea that there would be, I think one of the big challenges that we have in theater is that there's an idea that like one kind of show is, the first false binary that I ever got really worked up about was Sondheim versus Andrew Lloyd Webber, which is a false binary for so many reasons.
They played the piano together.
They did. Yeah, they were born on the same day.
Wow.
But the idea that you could recreate the impact of a cultural phenomenon like Hair by flattening the experience that is Hair into this is a rock musical is sort of to me the the challenge.
And I think that was the failure of the future rock musicals because they were trying to let's do Hair again.
It's the failure of repeated musicals across the entire history of musical theater.
But I think exactly the thing that you're saying, Heath, is also the thing that Joe Papp understood intuitively.
I'm being compared to Joe Papp. I would like that to be on the record.
Which is that if you want to move...
Well, you brought this big red bottom with you, and you've just been spanking it this whole time.
If you want to move the form forward, you need to make room for advancements in the form rather than always trying to use a previous thing as the model for what it is that you're attempting to build.
And the thing that strikes me as so unique about A Chorus Line, too, is that it is a piece of documentary musical theater.
Right.
In a way, we were trying to rack our brains as to anything that was like earlier than this that operated in a documentary musical theater form. I know stuff after it, like the Civilians do stuff like Gone Missing, which is just based on interviews that they do, and they make
Runaways was 2 years after this.
I've worked with the Civilians a bunch, and what they do and their sort of ethos couldn't exist without a show like A Chorus Line, for sure.
Yeah.
I would be hard-pressed to think of something that truly is what A Chorus Line is, where it's about performers playing themselves.
Yeah.
Like, it's documentary theater, like, the Laramie Project of it all exists, but what that is theatrical performers theatricalizing life, right?
Yeah.
And no matter how, no matter what kind of documentary theater you're dealing with there.
For the record, the Laramie Project, another really famous piece of documentary theater.
Tectonic Theater Project.
Is Tectonic Theater Project led by Moises Kaufman, and they are actors who went and interviewed people in Laramie after the murder of Matthew Shepard. And the actors are playing those people.
This is similar to the work of Anna DeVere Smith, who similarly interviews people, performs the interviews, and she embodies a whole bunch of different people.
Whereas here in the original production of A Chorus Line, most of those people on the stage are telling their own stories.
Right. Right. Which is just like it's like a mind-boggling task of performance.
Well, I think the closest equivalent, not in tone certainly, but title of show really comes to mind, where it is those performers playing heightened versions of themselves. It is not as revealing, but it is about the process of making a musical theater show.
Yeah, and is a fast. I agreed that title of show has the same energy, but the creators of title of show are the performers in that context. With A Chorus Line, there is a editorial eye that isn't the performers.
Right. There's
the eye
someone
of Michael
shaping
Bennett.
the book.
The way that the dancers describe it is they all got together like a slumber party, and they all went to a gym. They were at the Nicholas Exercise Center on 3rd Avenue and East 23rd. And the first session was 12 hours long. On January 26, 1974, they all sat around and talked about their lives with Michael Bennett running a tape the whole night through.
Yeah.
This is the main session. There is a second large session, and then there are little one-on-one sessions that happen later, but just about all of the material from the show comes straight from this first 12 hours.
After these first initial recording sessions, one of the dancers involved was this guy named Nicholas Dante. There's a big monologue that's very famous from A Chorus Line at the end. It's Paul's monologue, which we'll be hearing a little bit about in the second half. That is based on Dante's story that he told on the night itself. He is initially brought on to be the sole librettist, and then about midway through the process, they did bring on James Kirkwood.
Nicholas Dante, birth name Conrado Morales, his stage name, he decided to go with an Italian thing. This gets written into the show.
Yes.
This is a characteristic of Paul's character. Where they're like, why are you doing this Italian? I know you. You're Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
Once again, you're gesturing to AJ, who is the resident Puerto Rican.
I am.
So that makes a lot of sense.
I am Italian, so in the 70s, I probably would have been cast as a Puerto Rican at some point.
Yeah, most of the time.
And I'm half black, so I would have been cast as Puerto Rican also.
Yeah.
Finally, Heath, we're going out for the same roles.
Thank God.
They are literally holding hands.
and for the music, they get Marvin Hamlisch and Ed Kleban. Hamlisch, at this point, had done Seesaw with Cy Coleman.
Yes, and it just won an Oscar.
So they do a bunch of workshops. These are paid like $100 a week per person, and then they go up at the public April 15th, 1975, and this whole run sells out in about a week.
Yeah, they had an invited dress just for like friends and family before, and people were like walking out in tears and just like scream sobbing. So the word of mouth is already getting around that this thing is really hot.
So they're like, okay, we got to transfer this thing. And they bring it up to Broadway in July of 1975 at the Schubert Theater.
And the Schubert,
so hot in that theater.
If you don't know the Schubert, it is like one of the marquee Broadway houses.
Yeah.
They will only put shows there that they think are going to be a big hit.
At the point of the workshops at the public, they worked out a contract with all of the people in the chorus, all the interviewees, all the people whose stories these came from, and they got them to sell their story rights for $1 each. When they moved to Broadway, Michael Bennett actually got his lawyers to come back in and work out a royalty deal. There was a point in time where I think at the maximum, each person was making about $10,000 in a year from all of the different productions of Chorus Line happening. This all ends up becoming more of an issue when the show got revived on Broadway. Eventually, the dancers won out and they were able to get some money out of that. But then this show, I mean, this is a huge commercial juggernaut. It also smashes Pacific Overtures and a new Kander and Ebb show called Chicago at the Tony Awards.
Which was bad until it was revived, and you should never forget that.
Yes, and the revival will run forever.
As long as there is a housewife.
Are you listening to this podcast on any space, any time in the next 50 years? Chicago's
Go see
still running.
Chicago.
I'm sure it's fine. It's still over at the Ambassador. Check it out.
So A Chorus Line wins the Pulitzer Prize for drama, and then it ends up beating Grease as the longest running Broadway show of all time up until that point. By a wide margin. It almost doubles Grease's run. So the show runs until April 1990, and it is now currently the 7th longest running Broadway musical. And then there was a movie in 1985 that was better than I expected it to be. I hadn't actually watched it until just now, and I had heard terrible things, and some of them are justified, but I actually thought it was a very interesting movie.
I watched it when I was 5, so I have the quality of it. I have no critical lens for it.
Step, kick, leap, kick, touch. Again, step, kick, leap, kick, touch. Again, step, kick, leap, kick, touch. Again, step, kick, leap, kick, touch. Right. That connects with turn, out, in, touch, step, kick, leap, kick, touch. Got it? Going on and turn, touch, down, back step, pivot step, walk, right. Let's do the whole combination facing away from the mirror. From the top, a 5, 6, 7, 8.
The opening of this show is, I think, top 5 openers in all of musical theater.
That's a crazy statement to come out the gate with, but I love.
It's my opinion. Do you disagree?
I would.
What are
be
your top
hard
5? List them
pressed-
now.
Yeah, list them now.
I was like, I would be hard pressed to list 5 opening.
No, it might be number 1. It's so fucking good. Like this,
It is. Yes. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying it'd be like, it's the best musical ever. I'd be like, there's a lot of musicals.
No, but
There are.
the
Like,
way
Dude, have you seen Dude?
But the way that this show opens is an opener that I think is unlike anything that came before, and in many ways changed what we would expect from musical theater openers.
Yeah, you're seeing a dance call in real time, almost.
Not almost. That's quite literally what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, it drops you
aside
in
from
media
the
res
the frozen
inside of
moments of jumping inside people's minds.
Right.
You are just watching, and it is presented with this extreme dedication to realism.
What's interesting is like the reason that I think the opening works so well as far as any shows go is like one of the biggest challenges that one has as a musical theater creator is that there is a necessary suspension of disbelief, right? People don't sing their thoughts conceptually or otherwise. What is really interesting about A Chorus Line is that we are dropped into a world in which music is diegetic and non-diegetic simultaneously in a space in which it makes sense that this music would be happening.
God, I hope I get it. I hope I get it. How many people does he need? How many people does he need? I hope I get it. How many boys, how many girls? Look at all the people. At all the people. How many people does he need? How many boys, how many girls, how many?
It establishes the nature of the musical itself without ever making the audience feel like they're seeing something absurd.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we jump to the Hamilton of it all, the whole opening of Hamilton is essentially trying to do a similar thing where we're going to do rapping, and we're rapping a story about a story. And it's like we're both our characters and not our characters, and we're doing this weird, with this weird meta thing. Chorus line is basically the best version of that meta-theatrical moment possible, because we're not listening to people say what they're really thinking in a literal sense, but we're experiencing this sort of musicalized truth. God, I hope I get it.
Right.
Inside of a world in which the diegesis of the music makes perfect sense without question.
The thing that you get punctuating all of this is the voice of Zach, played by Robert Lupone in the original cast, who is the director of all of this. He is leading this dance call, telling everybody what it is that they need to be doing. I mean, how would we describe his presence in this show?
It's just all encompassing. I mean, he's God in this.
Right.
At least, I think that Michael Bennett put a lot of himself obviously into that role, into the role of Zach, the director. Yeah. And I feel like just hearing again, again. Is this similar to what it's like to actually audition for a Broadway show?
No.
Great.
But no is a funny, I this whole time I'm going to be sort of talking about whether or not you can do what this show does ever again. And a big piece of the reason the answer is no is because this is not how dance calls work anymore. What you're experiencing in a chorus line is functionally a true chorus call in which the actors are all coming in and doing a routine that they learn at that moment. Yeah. And I am not a dancer, to be clear. That's not my career.
But you're a dancer first.
I'm a dancer first. Being a dancer first does not mean I'm a professional dancer. It just means that I am spiritually a dancer. But there isn't really a space in which you go to a dance call and you would be interacting with the director choreographer at this moment. In the show, we're dealing with the fact that Zach, as a director, talks about how he wants to be a director of things that are not musicals.
Right.
He is casting a chorus line. Yeah. A chorus line is a very specific thing, which is a row of dancers who are able to blend into each other. I mean, this is articulated at the end of the show, but now everybody, you come into an audition and they're like, show me you.
Right.
Yeah. That's the opposite of what they're trying to do here. Yeah. In a chorus line, we're trying to find a group of not identical, but dancers who are able to be each other. Yeah. And that's part of the thing that makes a chorus line so powerful.
Yeah, this is the underlying dramatic tension of the show is that you get at the end of this 12-minute long intro, 10 to 12 minutes.
But it doesn't feel
it. It doesn't feel that
crazy.
way. Yeah. At the end of it, once they have gone through all of the auditions and each sequence of the audition, they all stand on the titular chorus line and they hold their headshots up in front of their face while we hear these brass hits.
It's not nice. It's
It
dangerous.
sounds like a horror movie.
Yes.
It sounds like this is... Okay, so here's my big thing. Stephen Sondheim had a lot of fucking beef with a chorus line.
He had an issue with the chorus line because of the development and also because Marvin Hamlisch and Cy Coleman had publicly talked shit about him.
Yeah, and so
he kind of slipped. This was a week before Pacific Overtures opened, so he was already really in a mood. And he was being interviewed by the New York Times, and he's like, I don't know why these fucking guys are even talking about me, but also you don't even know what it is to take a risk. Because a real risk is putting something up in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And here we have this thing that's been subsidized, that's had workshops for a year before it opened to the public, and then it's transferring up. It's a sure thing. And even that is it was blown out of proportion a little bit to what he was actually saying.
Yeah. When you
But
read
he
the
was
article,
also being a little
he
shitty.
brings Michael Bennett on as a consultant for Sunday in the Park with George, specifically because the format of that is like, look at all these people. They're all going to sing their thoughts at a certain point. Michael Bennett knows how to do that.
Sondheim is fascinating to me because as a musical theater person, Sondheim is often heralded as like the peak of musical theater work, right? And that is not a thing that I mean to disagree with or like challenge. But Sondheim was also like doing a very specific thing. Every Sondheim show is remarkably ambitious in the sense of all of the things that comes before. He's always trying to take what has happened and upend it in some way. That drive, which I think is a hugely important drive and is actually fundamentally anti what musical theater is now, where all shows are functionally just sort of like showing the things that would be right about how a musical adaptation of whatever property we're adapting would be. We're like, this is the right song for this moment. Sondheim doesn't do that kind of thing. I would argue that A Chorus Line is closer to that kind of musical. It is not a musical that is trying to do something from a musical theater perspective that is progressive or ambitious. It is doing many theatrical things that are progressively ambitious, but not musically. Really?
It's more interested in using all of the tools of theater more broadly and sort of creating, as you were saying earlier, a meta-theatrical space where you're sort of playing with what are the boundaries between the audience and the performers?
Right.
What are the boundaries between the performers and the characters?
Right. And what is the boundary between all of these things and the music?
Yes.
And that for me is the thing that Chorus Line doesn't, and this is why I respond to, is this the best musical theater opening? I think that I get prickly about that statement, not because I don't think it's a brilliant opening for the show that is A Chorus Line, and not because I don't think that A Chorus Line is a brilliant musical. I think these both of these statements are true.
Yeah.
I don't find it particularly ambitious in what it's trying to do, musically, theaterly speaking. Like when I think about Pacific Overtures, and again, this is not to like directly compare these two things like one is better than the other. Pacific Overtures is doing something absolutely insane.
Yes.
Musical theater. It is doing no theater music. It's using cross-cultural appropriation. It's like what is happening in Pacific Overtures is ambitious in ways that are beyond the scope of A Chorus Line.
What I'm interested in here is the net effect of the thing as presented in its original context. And we all watched for this episode the original recording of the original off-Broadway performance. And it was shot on a fucking potato.
Everyone looks like a ghost.
You cannot see shit.
It's been transferred like 5 or 6 times. This is the actual New York Public Library copy that someone uploaded to YouTube.
But it is goddamn sensational.
It's really great. Something like the energy of it is, well, and the energy of that crowd too. This was, I think, the final night at the Public. Everyone's just going nuts.
I think that it's really important to be able to assess the work as a piece of theater, and what makes something theater to me is, and this is, the difference between theater and performance art is that theater is actually rooted in a score. A score meaning not just the music, but like it's scored. There's text that people are saying that is written to be performed. There is a necessary distance between performer and self, and that's different to me than performance art, where performance art it operates in a liminal space between performer and character, and that's deliberate. Chorus Line is living in that space. It is kind of performance art. That performance art, as you're saying, when you're watching that video of it, you're watching a relationship between an audience and what they're watching that is not really theatrical. It's like performance art. You're seeing people love the people they're watching. And again, this is like you're getting into like Heath's TED Talks about theater. But like musical theater is a really challenging place for performance art because musical theater must be scored in a much more literal sense. Again, looking at Sondheim, me weirdly defending Sondheim being an asshole, I'm like, a thing that Heath doesn't like, speaking about myself in third person, I don't like shows about theater, especially musicals about theater, because musicals about musicals necessarily have to engage with cultural perception of musicals. So what ends up happening is you end up with a show like Something Rotten, which I think is actually a well-crafted show.
It's fun,
I don't say that this is good or bad. For me, that show thinks that musical theater is dumb.
Let's just say it's a Saturday night and you want to go out on the town. Got a lady to flatter who might give it up if you don't let her down. You could go see a tragedy, but that wouldn't be very fun. or a play from Greek mythology. See a mother have sex with her son. Ugh. You could go see a drama with all of that trauma and pain. Or go see something more relaxing and less taxing on the brain. Go see a musical.
The show hinges on the idea that musical theater is dumb. This is the same thing that's true with Schmigadoon. It's the same thing that's true with Smash. It's the same thing that's true with
Spamalot.
Well, I think that the difference with a chorus line is like it is about the creation of a musical, but it's not really about musicals. It's about labor.
Right.
It is about building the thing. And we see this right up front as soon as they conclude that first number. We hear from them because they're being asked questions about their life.
And they've said this line like, oh, who am I anyway? Am I my resume? That's a picture of a person I don't know.
Right.
Which it was my favorite lyric, I think, in this entire show. I mean, that's up there. As someone who doesn't really audition a whole lot these days.
4 other lyrics from Dude?
But we get into it, and all of a sudden these people are being asked very probing personal questions, some of which you would not be allowed to ask, like, what is your exact age?
Right. If we want to get really into the idea of what probing is, and I will say this, just for context for people listening, I am in this particular space the only person who is a person of color, and the number of times that your ethnicity is probed because of what I would consider a white colonial obsession with authenticity as it pertains to your race puts me into a very strange position because I have been asked my race regularly, which is quite literally illegal. And it's illegal because it's a show about labor. And when you're dealing with labor, if you're talking about hiring people for labor, these are spaces in which that becomes complicated.
Right. Yeah.
A chorus line does not directly engage with this question as anything. There's no way to directly engage with this question on stage, which is part of the reason that I'm like, a chorus line can't happen right now. A chorus line of people in 2026 on stage would be being like, well, as a queer, non-binary, half-black person, this is all my experience of what it means to be asked who I am. And we can look at this in terms of age. You're like, they can't ask what their age is. And I'm like, the idea that you can or can't ask someone something like that, something personal like that, is the fusing of two worlds, the artistic world of labor and the real world of, I'm showing my own ass, big red.
It
slapped.
is red being slapped. Yes, currently.
But it's that...
That's me slapping. Josh!
That is
you
our
can't do that. Ask me my race, sure, but you cannot. But it is. It's like this. There's this really strange thing that's happening, and this all comes back to why I think that this opening number is so effective. It's engaging with these questions in a way that never once ever engages with what musical theater is. No character in the show ever sits there being like,
it's crazy we sing.
It's crazy that we sing.
Yeah. Wow.
It is 100% a sincere, musically theatrical performance art piece. And I think that's really, really cool.
But one thing that does come up here, and I think this is an interesting point to the thing of like what things look like 50 years later, is that this is still so much about identity, and identity in every sense. I think, aspects of sexual identity, gender identity, ethnic identity. It's just that the way that those conversations were handled 50 years ago is so fucking different from the way that it's handled now.
Nobody in the play explicitly says it, but you do get the vibe. It's like, so you a homo or what? Like there's this sort of like bluntness there.
I mean, there are, no one asks those questions directly, but like Bobby, if I get my characters straight, does talk about being a homosexual directly. Right? Like it's funny because do I think that the conversations manifest themselves differently back then? Sure. The language for things is different. But what's interesting to me is that the expectation of authenticity, of how authenticity manifests on an actor on stage is functionally very, very different.
I think what's interesting here is that, again, this is documentary theater. These are things that these people, for the most part, are saying themselves and then repeating on stage after some editing or something.
Yeah.
But the circumstance is totally fictionalized because these chorus members did not have to audition with their information. There was an audition later at one point in the workshop process because Joe Papp wanted to see everybody. But like they're all sitting in a gym and sitting around talking, not knowing if that is going to take them anywhere.
Right.
And having a better time than the people on stage. Because on stage, they're all fucking miserable because you just have this voice of God, which is what we actually call it in the theater when you're calling on the big speaker.
On the God mic,
And he's just like, step forward, give me your stage name, your real name, your age.
Yep.
Go.
Right, as though that's part of the audition process.
And pull apart everything about yourself.
Right.
Yes.
But we're not this doesn't get in, like, if we like step back from this, the relationship between Zach as a director and these auditioners laborers is profoundly fucked up.
Oh yeah. Well, in a way that theater like mines trauma anyway, right? It's just like, this is a capitalistic enterprise. We are putting up a musical to make money potentially on that musical, but in order to get that role, you have to confess to us every bad thing that's ever happened.
You have
to
the
you.
darkest story possible. Great, perfect. Let's get up.
Well,
here.
and this doesn't even get into the fact that, like, the things that happen for dramatic effect inside a chorus line, the relationship between Cassie and Zach, the way that Paul's entire arc, how it comes out. I mean, when Paul first starts getting talked to, and Zach sort of like accuses him of not being authentic. There's like these moments in the show that are like, that's an insane thing for not just a character to do, but for like people to do to each other.
He says at one point to one of the performers, "Don't perform, just talk," which is the worst thing you could ever say to an actor.
In an audition setting,
especially. You are never going to get what you want out of the actor by giving that direction. You have to be more clever about it.
As we're going down the line and people are telling these facts about themselves, we get this song coming in where people are like, well, what can I tell him?
Yeah. What should I say? What can I tell him?
You've got, for instance, Val, who has had the roughest life of all of them. She was like an orphan who was raped at the age of 7, but you can't just go out there and say that.
Yeah, and that's what she's singing. She's like,
too much.
Seriously, nothing too obscene. I'd better keep it clean.
Yeah, I have to find the thing that's like just hard enough.
Right.
But not too hard. And so she goes out there and she's like, well, my real name is Margaret Houlihan. And she's even got the Hot Lips Houlihan picked. And in 1975,
that joke went over
you
like
can't just be named Margaret Houlihan, right? MASH is still on the air. You just can't do it.
Any theater you enter, you're hearing the chopper in the background.
You can't be named.
You can't
Mary Margaret Houlihan.
No, they'll kill you.
They'll kill you. In the third preview, they actually stormed the stage and murdered the original actor playing Val. They had to recast her.
Yeah.
The 70s were really fucking crazy.
Really crazy.
The lead did a lot.
It did a lot
of things.
But it
we're still
tasted
dealing with
so
that.
good.
It did.
Water just isn't as good anymore.
What happens now?
But the first number that we get that is sort of instructive of the perfect way to tell your story is I Can Do That.
I'm watching Cisco pitter-pat. Said I could do that. I could do
Famously, a song that I sang on the Great American Stage. Many, many, many layers of Heath playing the role of Mike Costa in a community theater production of A Chorus Line. First off, I have alluded to my racial identity.
Yeah.
I've said it.
Yes.
And
That's a very strong form of alluding to it. Yeah.
If you look in this here program, you'll notice a key piece of information. If you look at I'm not going to call this person out because this will get misinterpreted, but the person who played Richie in our production was not a black person.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, you would think that sounds like an insane thing to do, but if you actually read a lot of what the characters do, most of Richie's references to being black happen in montage form. Yeah. And when he actually has his own moment in montage part 2, when he does the Give Me the Ball, there's this question that white people in 2005 asked often, which is like, is race relevant to this story? And it's easy to say no, because A Chorus Line does not actually care about Richie as a black man. It uses Richie as a black man to tell stories about blackness, but he's also the only black character in the show. Right. So he becomes a stand-in for a whole conversation. And this is where I'm like, to assert that these conversations were or weren't happening at that time, if you were to interview a black person being the only black person in the room today at an audition, that would be what that person talked about.
Right.
Yeah.
At the time, Richie, this real person, is put into a position where having that conversation is not, it's just not tenable, right? You can't have that conversation. Anyway, the real point is that as Mike Costa in the show, I said every Richie line that directly related to being black. This is particularly strange when I do Mike Costa's intro monologue where he talks about being from a massive Italian-American family.
Yes.
And like, that's the whole thing. So Heath, as an actor, was sitting there being like, I am half Italian and half black. That tracks.
Yeah.
So Heath's experience playing Mike Costa in a chorus line, and this is also associated with the fact that I was a tapper, and I was basically the only tapper in the group. That was like my go-to. When I say dancer first, I was a tap dancer.
I see.
But like playing Mike Costa in a chorus line was a weirdly definitional point in my life, because this was my first time doing a show in which I was directly engaging with my own race as it pertained to the race of the characters in the show. And suddenly I'm navigating this conversation in a room full of white people. And I was like, what are we talking about?
I grab her shoes and tights and all, but my foot's too small, so I stuff her shoes with extra socks. Run 7 blocks and nothing flat. Hell, I can do that. I can do that.
Because we're in Seattle, if you go through this little line of people, we had more Asian American actors than Connie, and in fact, Connie wasn't even the shortest Asian American actor in our cast.
That's funny.
Because and again,
And she sings about being short,
right? Because she was short, but there were also other short people in our cast. We like dealing with there are other Asian American people. There were other people who were Latino or Hispanic in the show that were not Diana. And again, we're just dealing with the fact that this is what's happening. Yeah. And I'm like, it's weird to talk about it as though authenticity was the point of any of this.
Because the chorus line is a show about identity in a sense, I suppose, but it's...
I think it's truer to say if identity is your relationship to storytelling as a concept, which I think is what identity functionally is, yes, it's about identity. Yeah. It just is not about identity in the way we think about identity now. Right. And it's like, the reality is I can sing, I can do that. Yeah. And it's actually very true to me. That is like the most Heath possible response to seeing somebody do something. I'm like, I could do that. Like that's quite, and so like my playing the role of Mike Costa was more centered around my relationship to that song than anything else. And that song is incredibly relatable. When we watch Mike Costa sing I Can Do That, we recognize it. Yeah. We understand this person. We understand this character. And that's the testament to Marvin Hamlisch as a songwriter. It's like, this is a true song. But is that the truth in this song, that we're seeing an authentic representation of this person saying all these things that are true about themselves? Not really.
Right.
What makes it work is that it's a good song.
And I think that line between performance versus truth and like the identity of the performer versus the performance, these are all questions that we're going to be continuing to explore when we get into the back half of this episode. But I think for now, it makes sense for us to take our break.
Longtime listeners of this podcast are no doubt familiar with our relationship with the Dr. Samuel Bolch DDS Memorial Archive, which is, of course, Dr. Samuel Bolch DDS, very famous script doctor, who has worked on drowned.
Drowned. Right?
He was drowned off the coast. His body was found.
Yeah, perfectly ordinary circumstances.
Yes,
like
nothing weird about there. But people know that he punched up several lyrics for Broadway shows in his time. He collaborated with Sondheim on an unfinished musical called What's the Buzz, a show about bees and the things that bees do when we're not looking. We've talked about his acting career in regards to his relationship to Stephen Schwartz. But did you all know that he was also a dancer?
Oh.
Well, he wasn't. He was a mover. But in January of 1974, at the spry age of 45, he attended a meeting at a friend's house because he was told there would be sandwiches. And that meeting turned out to be a recording session for a new Broadway musical. Oh. While his story about an ill-fated dance call he attended in his younger days did not make the final cut, we here at the Dr. Samuel Bolch DDS Memorial Archive, where the stairs are old and the lights are dim, are so thrilled that it will finally see the light of day. Please enjoy.
I'm watching folks get moves down flat. I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm gonna need some Xanax stat, 'cause I can't do that. Oh, I can't do that. Can we slow it down or... Okay. My agent said the part's for movers. I'm thinking I might stand a chance, but I can't dance, so I'll flail about like a heart attack. Throw out my back and hit the mat. Oh, I can't do this, and I can't do that. Oh, God, we're starting. Here we go. Okay, we're going over here, and the jazz it, pot boomerang. Why are there so many vases in here? And lit candles? Oh boy, the room is sure amazed. Been set ablaze, I'm sure it's fine, all thanks to me. And my rat-a-tat-tat said, let me do this. Oh, and we're turning and we're doing a jazz hands. I think I'm getting it. Oh, the bone's poking through, and I can't do that. Call a doctor?
So at this point in the show, everybody who has been on that chorus line has been narrowed down to our final auditioners. They've begun to tell their stories. This is where they start to break the frame a little bit. The number at the ballet.
Life with my dad wasn't ever a picnic, more like a come as you are. When I was 5, I remember my mother dug earrings out of the car. I knew that they weren't hers, but it wasn't something you'd want to discuss. He wasn't warm. Well, not to her. Well, not to us.
At the Ballet is a number that begins pretty much with the same framing that we've seen up until this point.
Yes.
Which is, oh, what's the big thing that I remember that I care about? Well, it was doing ballet.
Everything was beautiful at the ballet. Graceful men lift lovely girls in war.
This also alters the reality of the stage that we're on too, because this is also the first point where the rest of the chorus departs for a bit. Because you're also like, are they just going to have to fucking stand there the whole time?
Which you would not be able to tell based on the video that we all watched, because
it's all ghosts. Ghosts and shadows.
Maybe the lights went down.
The other really important staging piece that I haven't mentioned up until this point is that there is a wall of mirrors behind the line.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a trick that this set has up its sleeve, which is that the mirrors can rotate, and once they've rotated, it's just a black wall.
You know, when you look in those mirrors as an audience member, maybe we're being reflected on the stage too. You know,
no, not really, because we're not lit.
Oh well. I mean, I'm just stating the concept of pretty much every straight play from 2010 to 2019 was just like, let's put some mirrors on the stage and indict the audience.
Or sometimes we will literally put the audience on stage.
No, I really think that this is not indicting the audience.
It's not.
I think even with the way that they're addressing forward and everything, you are like a ghost in that space.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You are not acknowledged and you are not part of it.
In the question of whether you as an audience member are human or dancer, you are human and they are dancer. Although the show does seek to answer that question by saying, what if dancer were human?
So true.
It does try to throw away the binary.
Yeah. It does. It's funny. We're sitting here talking about like, who is the audience in the context of this thing? And I was like, remember it's a play.
Yes.
I was like, God forbid anybody make a play in which you just watch the play and like the audience isn't cast as a thing.
I'm from the immersive theater world. This is the whole question all the time.
And annoyingly,
we have
I'm
to
a
do with
strict
those
Brechtian,
fuckers.
so it's kind of the same. I actually am, and so it's kind of the same
owns
thing.
a mirror factory, so I just feel like you've got this to the wrong room.
I really don't think that there is any kind of device meant to address the audience in any way.
Sure.
And I think the disembodied director is this powerful force bearing down on everything. I think this is also a big failure of the movie, is like making Michael Douglas into like a character that we spend time with and he's always freaking out and losing his mind, because that relationship between the director and our chorus line is one where he's like, I just want them to talk, right? Can't this just be a conversation?
Yeah.
And not being able to fully connect with, of course it can't be a fucking conversation, because they need to get paid.
Right. You're the director.
Right. But again, if there's another thing about a chorus line, is that a chorus line takes place in the Broadway theater that it is taking place in, right?
Yeah.
Theoretically, the mobile mirrors are mirrors that are brought onto the stage of a Broadway stage, because at this time, auditioning on a Broadway stage was a thing that happened.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like
for some reason, I didn't realize that up until right now. I had thought that you were supposed to be in a rehearsal studio.
No.
You are in the Schubert Theater watching an audition at the Schubert Theater.
See, when I revive a chorus line, it's all going to be set in Ripley Greer. There's going to be a lot of neon and palm trees and Southwestern kitsch, pictures of hot air balloons.
Somebody shitting in the corner.
One of the things that's why I'm like, who is the audience cast as? The audience actually operates much more like Zach, because in that space, Zach is standing in the audience. A lot of it's like voice of God. There's, in the recent Filipino staging starring Conrad Ricamora as Zach, he was actually lit in the audience the whole time.
That's interesting.
So the relationship between what's happening on stage and what's happening in the audience is physical. We are not there, but we are in the space that we're in. What we're dealing with in the show is like who the audience is in relationship to this sort of invited space. It's sort of immersive theater.
Well, but that's
that
also
world.
what kind of makes it interesting when they break the frame a little bit here during At the Ballet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because once the mirrors go away and once other members of the chorus come in and they represent figures from the character's memory, we have now kind of like moved into a slightly different space.
Do they represent figures in the memory?
I think they're
operate?
supposed to. That's my understanding of the staging, at least.
Oh, how
I didn't really
interesting.
see that. I thought I saw them because it's really just the people singing the song who are left on stage.
Yeah.
They do sometimes become mother, and I don't mean that in a like cunty, like I mean
Wait,
they
when
become
do they do that?
in Mother.
You're Maggie.
Darling, I can tell you now. Your father went through life with an open fly.
Mother, oh mother, listen to your mother. Go stage and every people got there because they're special. You're Maggie.
You take after your father's side of the family, the ugly side. Wait until your father gets bored.
But that sounds to me like a character saying what their mother said to them, not playing their mother. I don't think that anybody in Chorus Line ever plays somebody who is not them.
But do you not think that there are a few stage pictures where the dancers are creating sort of shapes and they are physical presences, not strictly literalistically like on the line? Do you not think that those are representations of memories? That's how I read it.
Or like the vibes of memories. Yeah, I like I'm not seeing them as Heath, you're saying, as like physical people, but as like how the memory feels.
Right.
Like, and the way that dance can express emotion in that way and physicalize emotion in that way. Especially once we get to the montage. But like here in At the Ballet specifically, what I love about it is that it is able to show the freneticness of their lives on the outside, but the dance clears everything away, and it is simple and it is beautiful because everything is beautiful at the ballet.
Yeah.
And it made me understand dance in a way I don't think I've ever understood
That's crazy,
dance
because I
before.
thought you were a dancer first.
I'm human.
Sure. I experience almost everything that happens in Chorus Line as you're never not seeing that dancer until the very end, in which they all become the same thing.
But certainly the reality of the situation has shifted.
Right.
Like it's not the same as everyone still standing on the line. They'll come right back to the line when the song's over, and them moving is not them moving. But I think I'm kind of with you where I don't necessarily see them playing symbolic or remembered.
Right. And
people.
there's a thing that happens in the show all the time, and this to me is a documentary theater type of thing where we understand that we're dropping into conversations repeatedly, right? A person will suddenly start talking as though they've been talked to. But and again, this is do something that is not that would break the theatrical rules of a chorus line.
Yeah, we are never seeing fully staged, realized memories with real, literal characters behind.
No Pillow Man sequences.
No,
Right,
it's just,
exactly.
it's just that at this point, the show does something that it hasn't done up until this point. Because up until this point, they have been on the line. And they step forward and they step back.
See, I really couldn't sing. I could never really sing. What I couldn't do was
Sing.
I have trouble with the it goes all around my it's a terrifying. See, I really couldn't hear which note was lower or was
Higher.
which is why I disappear if someone says let's start a
Higher.
Talking about a thing that just would not happen today, right, in making a chorus line, you would not necessarily have a chorus member who was tone deaf in the same way.
That's actually kind of a fun part of it.
Unless
There's kind of a fun part of it.
There is kind of a
fun part of the documentary where they're trying to like cast someone who's basically faking not being able
because
to
not
sing.
in a way that like when you watch the opening number, right, and there's a lot of dancers who are doing the choreography wrong, who are the swings, who then have to know that choreography wrong and right.
But again, I think that to do a thing that's purposely bad, this is once again a testament to Marvin Hamlisch's writing, is that it's not, you're not being asked to sing purposely bad. The song is written that if you do the song as written, it will sound like it's bad.
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Jingle bells, jingle.
Again, this is the tension of a musical theater piece.
Yeah,
the musical, the show, A Chorus Line, never asks us to literally watch anything but a performance that is considered good. Even her singing all those things. And I think that this is underlined by the rest of the cast doing the caroling. It's not diegetic in the sense that, and then suddenly everybody on the line sings caroling. What we're seeing is a theatrical demonstration of this feeling, which is what musicals do really well.
And something that does that even better is what comes next, which is the big montage.
Right. Both At the Ballet and I Can Never Really Sing are expressions of this thing. They're not, we have, and again, speaking to the brilliance of the opening number has set up a world in which this makes sense. We have already set up a world in which people are doing,
I hope I get it. I hope I get it.
we're doing a thing where the music, it is both literally what's going on in the room, we're auditioning, and it is also an expression of the theatrical language of the piece.
Right.
Which is, and again, the montage, this is so good.
Well,
it's hard to be like
extraordinary.
Both of the
really
sides
incredible.
of the show are interwoven at this point.
Right.
We are both hearing the audition piece of it as well as their own thoughts together as one.
Goodbye, 12.
Early to bed,
Goodbye,
early
13.
to rise. The boy goes out and I rise. I want my
Shit, made it through high school without growing tits.
I will never be so bad to head and go slower. Hey, hey, Johnny, hey, and boys going nothing. What am I gonna say when he calls on me?
My only adolescence, where did it come? It was so, where did it come? It was so, where did it come? It was so. Suddenly I'm 17, and suddenly I'm 17, and suddenly I'm 17, and suddenly there's a lot I am not certain of.
Yeah, we pretty much have left the world of We're Learning's dances because until we leave for Cassie and he says, Larry, take them downstairs to learn.
Yeah.
At this point, everything that has happened is now a musical theater expression of the thing that's happening, not what is literally happening. And I think, again, that's sort of what's brilliant about it. We've set up that everybody's being interviewed. So when people say random things inside of the montage, we understand exactly what we're being dropped into, which is a conversation that is happening between Zach and that person.
And it gets pretty frank, right? Like over the course of the show, we're tracking them basically from childhood through adolescence to their adult lives. Like it is going chronologically throughout the run of it, but this one in particular gets into the sex of it.
Musically, like, this is really interesting because they're just throwing all of these different things at you. It's just different ideas, it's different people, it's different experiences. And so, like, the phrases all kind of mashed together. When I was a teenager, I was like, oh, this is just like simple from Anyone Can Whistle, because I was really normal. As a teenager, I was a huge, which I don't love that score in the first place, but like simple
Obsessed
becomes
with
this
that reference point.
extended sequence.
What's crime?
Woman's place is in the home.
What's crime?
Place is in the home.
What's crime?
If at first you don't succeed, try
What's crime?
In Anyone Can Whistle becomes increasingly absurd. In A Chorus Line, it becomes increasingly clarifying.
Goodbye 12, goodbye 13, hello,
Robert Goulet, my God, Robert Goulet!
oh, down below, above,
Playing doctor with Evelyn.
la la la,
I'll show you mine.
La la.
You show me yours.
la la,
Seeing Daddy naked.
time to grow, time to go,
Right.
la la la.
Mom and Dad were doing it.
And this is so useful mechanically, too, because as you were saying at the beginning, at first you're like, oh my God, we're going to have to listen to 16 people tell me their life story. No, this is bits
And
and
now you're like,
snatches.
holy shit, 16 people are telling me their life story. This is awesome.
Whoa.
Yes, at once. And we pause in the middle of the montage for this song called Nothing.
And everybody's going, shh, shh. I feel the snow, I feel the cold, I feel the air. And Mr. Carp turns to me and he says,
Okay, Morales, what did you feel? And I said, nothing, I'm feeling nothing. And he says nothing could get a girl transferred. They all felt something, but I felt nothing except the feeling that this bullshit was absurd.
This song hit me the hardest as an actor. I have this exact relationship that she has with her acting teacher, with one of my acting teachers in college.
Your acting teacher died and you felt nothing?
No, he hasn't died yet, the motherfucker.
Sounds like you feel something.
He is. I do feel something, and I probably will when he dies. There's a very famous quote that Stella Adler said when she was told about Lee Strasberg's death. She said, let's all take a moment to memorialize the loss of Lee Strasberg, and everybody put their heads down. And then she put her head up like a minute later and said, let's hope the theater can recover from what that man has done to it. And that's how I feel about this particular acting teacher. And if I had this song, if I had had nothing in college, I think I would have left that situation a lot sooner, because I just needed someone to tell me it was okay to quit when I was beating my head against the wall, when I wasn't feeling anything, because the method is not a catch-all and not everyone. It doesn't work for everybody. Yeah. And their insistence that it does makes you start to feel a little crazy. So had I had nothing at the time, I think I actually would have been able to get out of a pretty horrible, horrible situation.
And this song is Morales coming in and saying, like, I wanted to be a dancer. I got put into a performing arts school. I was in this class where we were supposed to pretend that we were on a bobsled, and we were supposed to feel that experience of being on a bobsled, and also having that performing arts school experience of being critiqued by all of your classmates.
Yeah, because you're doing it wrong.
And all of your classmates are children who are just going to repeat what they think the teacher wants them to say.
Right. Which is also kind of what's happening in a chorus line.
Yeah. Aside from the critique side of things, they're not going around and like saying shit to each other, except a little bit at the end of Dance 10 Looks 3. But and it was this experience of not just being like, I can't feel this thing, but also being told you suck and you're a loser over and over and over again, as a form of emotional torment.
Which is a very real experience in just acting classes more broadly. I think there's a reason why Nothing is very often cited by friends of mine as being a very formative song for them.
Nothing is a funny song for me as an actor because I don't feel things while I act, but it's not that I don't feel things while I act. It's that I don't feel the like acting technique of it all has always felt crazy to me because I do not understand people basically inducing their own psychosis as a like concept of what acting is or should be.
So this goes back to our idea of authenticity, right? And identity as how you're supposed to identify as your character.
Right.
But then maybe with your character.
Well, I mean, we could spin out about this very, very easily.
We only have so much time after.
And I think it's interesting that this is a show, this is people all auditioning and desperate to get a role, but these are not people auditioning to get their first role. These are all professionals who've all worked. So we know Morales being on that stage, she doesn't vibe with this bobsled thing. Also, her teacher died and fuck him.
Right.
And she doesn't need it in order to be able to work.
But there is still something about the fact that she does need to tell this story in a certain way to get the desired reaction in order to get the job.
If we like break down the actual theatricality of what we're watching on stage in a chorus line, it sort of starts to be like, wait, you're telling me that this bitch came on stage and then told a perfect story about herself that had an incredible beginning, incredible growth, and a perfect climax, and no.
Right, where the word nothing changes
get the hell out of here.
fundamentally over the course of it.
You can actually hear this part of the interview. This was in the special features for Every Little Step. It's on YouTube. Yeah. And it's not, and then I cried because I felt nothing. She was like, and then, the next summer he died. I thought, great.
But again, this to me is where I'm like, I don't mean to be questioning what is happening in the course of the thing that is happening, because we accept what's happening, which is that this person is telling the story about their life and they're doing it in a song form, and the song form is a beautifully crafted song, and we love it. And I would also like suggest that, and again, these are like weird like gestures of brilliant theatricality that either come from Michael Bennett or otherwise, where this is Diana who's singing this, who is going to sing the most schmaltzy moment of the entire thing. So this is a person who's saying, I don't feel things, I don't feel things as an actor. And then she ends the show functionally being like, I'm the one who cares. Not that she actually is saying that.
No, but you're right.
It's dramatically interesting.
Because you're setting up an aspect of her that is an unreliable narrator. Because also the way that she says that she feels nothing it's not that she feels nothing.
The challenge of musical theater performance writ large is that what you are doing is you're manipulating your own emotions to have them hit the audience in a specific way. That is what you're doing. If you think that's not what you're doing, you are not acting.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, congratulations. And the reason that I love musical theater so much is that musical theater actually makes this explicit. Because when you do a monologue, you can sort of trick yourself into the idea that that's not what you're doing. Because you're like, I'm just saying the things that I naturally think. I'm on a journey. And I'm just saying the things. And when the writing is good, then I do all the work. And I'm like, yeah, if you were to use that thinking inside of performance of a song, you are gonna be bad. Like you can't, it would be easy to sing nothing and be like crying when the kids are making fun of her. And what we know is that her not crying the whole time. And then when she says at the end, like you're saying, she's saying she's feeling nothing. But what makes it work is that we understand that what's happening is a sort of like beautiful moment. And again, this is all a testament to like, this is a well-written moment in the show. It is so well, it's smart. Internally, it's smart. Externally, it's smart. Structurally, it happens inside the montage.
Yes.
So we know that we're experiencing adolescence. The song Nothing that's why we as young people hearing Nothing are like, oh my God, I understand this. Because it's about being 18, 19, 20. It is not What I Did for Love. We're watching it coming, it's not that.
And I also think that the montage more broadly does such a brilliant job of capturing the feeling of adolescence while also capturing, this is like there's going to be a moment in there that is going to resonate with you personally, even if it's not Nothing. Because I mean, for me, it's like, it's a well-written, well-constructed song. It did not make me feel what AJ felt because I have not had an experience like that.
But again, remember, like I was telling you, I did this show when I was 17.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like, it was very odd to work on this show, which is about these experiences that I was like functionally inside of.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
It's very odd to do because I did so much theater when I was a kid and I teach now. One of the things I like talk about a lot is what's actually appropriate for children to do.
Sure.
And I hate children on stage. Heath never wants to have children on stage. And by children, I mean basically anybody under 20.
Yeah, this is the official position of the Worst of All Possible Worlds as well.
Yes.
I think
I was also a child actor. So
I think, believe that child acting is fundamentally bad. There's nothing good that comes out of it. But what I also will couple this with is that I think that kids doing roles that are inappropriate for them is very good.
Yes.
There's nothing that I love more than like a third grade production of Fiddler on the Roof. Like, because what it's asking a child to do is engage with their imagination. And that's what theater should be doing with young people. It should not be asking a young child to engage with authenticity.
Sure.
That is a waste of our time. It is unhealthy developmentally. It's unhealthy that they tie their authenticity to the truth that they're telling on stage. Mess. Don't do that. Don't do it.
And also using their bodies for capital, right? And that's the other big thing is that for me, it is a child labor issue at the end of the day.
Right. So this is all to say that like I did chorus line. I also music directed when I was like 20. I music directed a high school production of Spring Awakening, which you should never do.
No.
It just shouldn't be done. Because again, the kids will think that it's about authenticity, but what's actually happening is like you don't have enough removal from this process to be able to engage authentically with performance. You're not performing, you are experiencing this. The other show that I did when I was younger, I realized I did 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which absolutely under no circumstances should ever be done with children. It is a commentary on the thing. It is not the thing. And if you go on and you have a child playing William Barfay, what you're asking that child to do is engage directly with emotions that I'm like, I am not a therapist. This is not a space where like...
But also, if you're a kid playing these roles and they are roles that involve like getting bullied and like your own insecurities, it's going to be bad. I feel like we should talk about the next number, which is Dance 10 Looks 3, which is all about overcoming your insecurity.
I also swiped my dance card once after an audition, and on a scale of 10, they gave me, for dance, 10, for looks, 3. Well, dance 10 looks 3, and I'm still on unemployment, dancing for my own enjoyment. That ain't it, kid. That ain't it, kid.
One of the things that we did not address directly when we passed it, which is Sheila, who spends the entire show being like, I'm old, is 30.
Yeah, she's 30
and
years
is
old.
not even the oldest person on the stage.
No, Cassie is.
Cassie is.
That aspect of age, especially for dancers, this is a very real...
And female dancers in particular.
Very real, very difficult thing that has to be navigated, not just in terms of ageism and casting and all this other bullshit that, of course, our Dance 10 Looks 3 number is going to have to deal with, but also just because of what it does to your body.
Yeah.
Right? Because of what dancing does. It's the same reason why we don't have 60-year-old NFL players.
Right.
But speaking about like just throwing kids into the deep end.
Dance 10 looks 3 is like to die. Left the theater and called the doctor for my appointment to buy tits and ass. Bought myself a fancy pair. Tightened up the derriere. Did the nose with it, all that goes with it.
A song that is often performed by teenagers.
I don't like that.
Don't care
like
for
that.
it.
I think it's fun that teenagers hear the song and they're like, this is funny. I like this song. That was my experience.
It should be titillating.
Yes. And acillating.
Dance 10 Looks 3. At the end of the day, what happened was Val failed auditions for the Rockettes. And so she was like, I am going to obtain assets that allow me to be more competitive in this market.
Yeah, I mean, it's about this compromise that she knows she has to make about it. And I think what makes her character so interesting is that she's just straightforward about it.
Yeah.
She's like, here's what I had to do.
But it made her a star.
It made her a
and to go
chorus
up,
member.
I think that's actually really important.
Yeah.
It
That is
didn't make her a
important.
star because what is like the most famous musical that starts with an audition for a chorus aside from a chorus line? 42nd Street.
Right.
Right.
Movie musical. I mean, it did get brought to stage later. Gower Champion, blah, blah, blah. He died. 42nd Street, which was based on a novel that was supposed to be, quote, the Uncle Tom's Cabin of the Chorus Girl. We don't have time for that.
Boy, no,
but
we don't.
Either way, it's a pre-code musical. It's edgy, but it's not serious at all. It doesn't really take any of the weird plot beats of what's going on seriously. Busby Berkeley works on this. So you have a couple of big signature Busby Berkeley numbers. But it's about a chorus girl who then becomes a star.
Yeah.
It is the fantasy of musical theater that you could just be plucked right out of Wichita and become the
Like
biggest
Sutton
name
Foster.
in the world.
Yes.
This is a deliberate choice then to position this number right ahead of The Music in the Mirror, which is Cassie's
Which is all I
big
ever
number. At this point in the actual world, Donna McKechnie, Detroit's finest, was 33 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is old for
And
a
so
dancer.
they've sent everyone away to go work on the
tap.
next combination, and they keep Cassie on stage.
I like that you're saying they.
They.
Zach.
Yes.
Zach keeps
Everybody behind the
the
table.
audience,
Yeah.
the implicated audience.
Yes. The ghosts. The ghosts in the
ghosts in the
theater.
mirrors.
And he starts talking to her very directly.
Yes.
And this, if you don't know anything about the real story behind the show, might just feel like a contrived, not poorly contrived, but a contrived moment of like, now we're developing a story.
We need a plot
Here's a conflict that we can give that also, this is just real. This is just the real relationship between Michael Bennett and Donna McKechnie, who a year after this show would open on Broadway, got married, and then less than a year after that, separated, and then fully divorced by 79.
But the big thing that we get after that moment is a dance. And it's just Cassie.
And the music.
And the music.
And the mirror.
God, I'm a dancer. A dancer dances. Give me somebody to dance with. Give me a place to fit in. Help me return to the world of the living by showing me how to begin. Play me the music. Give me a chance to come through. All I ever needed was the music and the mirror and the chance to dance.
This is, again, Donna McKechnie's real life. She got bigger roles.
When a person's personality is personable, you should not sit like a lump. It's harder than a matador coercible.
She has moved on beyond the chorus girl image. People see her and they're like, oh, no, you're overqualified for this. You have to be doing these starring roles. She's like, I don't get starring roles.
Right.
I just need a fucking job. I was doing a yogurt commercial in LA. I came back to New York because the only thing that really matters is that I just want to dance.
And she has come out and said that this is not her life. And then she was just like, people kept asking me and it was just easier for me to say that it was my life. But I mean, factually, there's a lot of similarities.
There's dramaturgical convenience that I'm sure sands off a lot of the true nuance of her real life.
But the reason that this moment works so well is that it is fucking Donna McKechnie, who is a brilliant dancer, having come back from Hollywood to dance. And it makes this moment work so beautifully. And it's not that other dancers can't do the choreography. It's just that it doesn't quite hit the same.
It's interesting because it's like, does this song work because it was Donna McKechnie? How much lore of Donna McKechnie does the audience know when watching Donna McKechnie do this number? The answer to that question is like neither here nor there. I think that the number works really well, again, in the same way that all of these numbers work really well, is because it's capturing a very true experience, a true and recognizable experience.
And a specific one, too.
Right. One of the things that's fascinating to me about the 17 versions of A Star is Born that we've seen is that A Star is Born always casts a person who is already a star as the role that becomes a star.
Yes.
And what that does is it allows the audience to believe that they're ahead of the story, which they see the stardom too. But what they're actually seeing is recognition, not stardom.
Right.
That doesn't mean that Barbra Streisand, that Judy Garland, that Lady Gaga is not incredible. It's that the story is playing on that experience. I would be fascinated to see a version of A Star is Born that starred somebody who was not a star. Do I think it would work? No. Do I think that a chorus line works whether we know who Donna McKechnie is or not? Yes. And that is the thing that I think is really important, because when we watch this woman dance, we're watching this person do what they're meant to do. Yes, we are seeing a thing that is we're seeing a real life Donna McKechnie expose her own frayed edges on the stage. That is beautiful. And it's a really well done. It's really well written. Assuming you know nothing about a chorus line, I don't think that we know at this point that she's an ex of Zach's. I think that reveal happens faster.
Yeah, it is certainly implied. Because,
no, you're right, though. But I felt that in the line. Like, not knowing the show going into it, it's like, oh, there's a personal thing here. Because he's like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the theatrical effect that's going on here, because we have those mirrors that can move. Yeah. And so it starts as a duet between Donna McKechnie and her reflection. And then because each of the mirrors turns in a little bit, now there's 7 Donna McKechnies.
Right.
All dancing.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are 7 of them.
All I ever needed was the music and the mirror and the chance to dance.
Emotionally, this cues you up very nicely for what comes next, which is Paul and his monologue.
Yeah.
Part of why this works is that we feel like we kind of got Paul's thing earlier, right? He stepped forward, he said his stuff, and then that's it. We've had our scene with Donna McKechnie now. Paul has been called up once again alone. Yeah. Just like she was.
Yeah, because Paul is, during the montage, he has his thing, or what? I'm trying to remember where it is.
He's called forward, and then he's just like, I don't actually want to talk about any of this.
Yes,
and he's just
yes,
like, well, do you want the role or not?
It's
like, really fucked. And so then he comes back later, he's like, hey, you have to do this. We've sent everyone else away.
Right.
It's just you and me. Talk to me about your life. And he gives this monologue.
We were working the Apollo Theater on 125th Street, doing 4 shows a day with a movie. It was really tacky. The show was going to go to Chicago. My parents wanted to say goodbye, and they were going to bring my luggage to the theater after the show. Well, we were doing this Oriental number, and I looked like Anna May Wong. I had these 2 great big chrysanthemums on either side of my head and a huge headdress with gold balls hanging all over it. I was going on for the finale, and going on the stairs, and who should I see standing by the stage door? My parents. They got there too early. I freaked. I didn't know what to do. I thought to myself, I know, I'll just quickly walk past them all, like all the others, and they'll never recognize me. So I took a deep breath, and I started down the stairs, and just as I passed my mother, I heard her say, "Oh my God." Well, I died. But what could I do? I had to go on for the finale, so I just kept going. After the show, I went back to my dressing room, and after I'd finished dressing and taking my makeup off, I went back downstairs. And they were standing in the middle of all of these. And all they said to me was, "Please write. Make sure you eat. And take care of yourself." And just before my parents left, my father turned to the producer and said, "Take care of my son." That was the first time he ever called me that.
His dad sees him and really sees him for the first time.
And does not reject it.
Because for a little bit of context going into this, we learn about how Paul has been doing all of these different drag shows. It's also kind of implied.
He's like a kid, too. He's not an adult yet.
It's also implied to me that Paul's still got some gender stuff to figure out.
This is actually from Nicholas Dante. This is not the performer playing Paul. When you listen to the interview of him talking about this, he says a lot of times, like, I think I just wanted to be a girl. And a big part of the story, and I think it would be, if it was produced a little bit later, it would be phrased a little bit differently, because a big part of this was him kind of finding what being a man meant to him.
Right.
Had he lived longer, what kind of words would he use to identify these days? We don't know. Right. Like these things change with time. The language changes, the ways that you can conceptualize yourself and your relationship to gender are different. But for him, it was like really important to kind of find that center for himself, that he could be very feminine.
Yeah.
Never lost that. He thought it was about being butch.
Well, this is a crazy testament to what you can do as an actor. But as an experiment, you could do that monologue and have the end be tragic because his dad isn't seeing her. Again, I'm pointing this out because this is why I'm like, the story of identity is so contextual.
Yeah.
That like we're here and we're sort of walking around the idea of like, is Paul trans? Is Paul non-binary? Is Paul on the spectrum of gender identities? And it's
Paul
like, well, yes,
gender,
obviously.
yes.
What's interesting is like when it comes to storytelling, you can play that scene.
Yeah.
It would be fascinating to do a version in which the tragedy is that Paul is not feeling seen by that moment. And instead, and again, that's not what the monologue is. That's not what that story is. So if an actor came to me and said that, I'd be like, cool, we can try that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's like wrong.
But I think that's, if we're ever to have like another big, say, Broadway production of a chorus line, it would have to be something that does not have the original staff or choreographers or people who were involved originally. I think it's something that, not to say that this is the thing that needs to happen to this monologue, but like it needs to have a different approach.
But this is the challenge too, is that the estate is so precious about the staging, regardless of who's involved.
Right. But I also, like, again, this is part of the danger of authenticity. If we did this today, there would be 75 Gen Alpha people on stage being like, you didn't cast a non-binary person as Paul and therefore you're not understanding it. And my argument would be like, the character of Paul is not non-binary.
Yeah.
That is not what this story is. It might be nice to have a actor who is non-binary playing this role. It might be interesting, but again, are we served by adherence to a fixed sense of identity that is not story-based? That is not the story of a chorus line. And I would argue that we are not. And this is, again, part of my assertion that doing chorus line in 2026 is really challenging.
Yeah.
It's because okay, is Baayork Lee, what is the racial ethnicity of Connie? Does it matter? Should Connie be Japanese American? Should she be Chinese American? Should she be Chinese? Should she all of these things? And you could be like, well, Baayork Lee was X, Y, and Z.
They have that
half
conversation.
Chinese, half Indian.
They have that conversation actually in the documentary Every Little Step, where she's like, I don't want Connie to have an accent because it's about being born here.
But this is the challenge too of, this is a musical that at the end of the day is about labor. And so many of the concerns about casting with regard to identity are to do with people who don't get cast because of their identity.
Right.
So that's where it gets really fucking hairy.
Right.
Is yes, of course, you want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to get work, but you also want the story to be told truthfully. And there are only so many parts available for so many more actors than there are parts.
Right, but then I go to the question is, what is telling this story truthfully? What does that mean?
Right.
Sure.
The only characters who are explicitly gay in the show are Greg says it explicitly, I think Bobby says it explicitly, and I think Paul says it Paul doesn't even quite say it explicitly.
Right.
Paul sort of there's an assumption that Paul is gay because Paul is a drag queen, but as we all know from the hit Broadway show Kinky Boots, technically Lola is not gay.
And we don't have gay women in the show. We have some women who practiced kissing with other girls, but don't seem to be gay themselves.
And this is not, for me, the question here is not is it not good representation because these people are or are not? What I'm saying is that when does the alignment between the actor's experience and the character's experience matter? Does it matter that Richie is the only black person in the show? Does that matter? Does it matter that other characters are or are not white? All of these actors are what they were. And if the answer is yes, it matters, then suddenly you run into this like real problem, which is like, is anyone in the ensemble a person of color?
Well, in the Broadway revival, they cast a black woman as Sheila.
Right. And again, my challenge with that is that I'm like, if we can see, and if you read my article, what I think about when Broadway is racist, I talk about that inside of a show, there's several versions of questions about race that we're dealing with. There is the question of, do these characters see each other's race? There is a question of, does the audience understand the race of characters in relationship to them as an audience?
Yep.
And what is the truth of the racial structures around the world inside of this show? So I would argue that like, a chorus line takes place in a world that is not real. It is not a real representation. And it's unfortunate that it pretends like it does, but that doesn't make it real. And actually, that fantasy is brilliant.
I am 100% with you. You get this in the concept of the musical itself. The stories that they are telling came from a working session where they were like, hey, let's come up with a show where we tell our stories.
Yeah.
But to juxtapose that with an authoritarian director asking them those questions in their replies,
squeezing it out of them.
That is untruthful, but it's
Yes.
also very truthful, and that's so fucking crazy.
Yeah,
to me.
because like when you listen to the recordings, it's a dish session. People are having fun, they're laughing, even when they're talking about really dark shit. Like
there are sandwiches.
They're volunteering the information, whereas here it's like, do it again. You know, like,
And where it comes out in the show is often they're interacting with each other, right? Like the characters are interacting with each other in a way that is like true to dancers hanging out, but is not true to the situation that they actually find themselves in.
I think that what comes next, where you have basically the ongoing rehearsals for the number one, this is extremely verisimilitudinous. Is that a word?
It is now.
It feels like
Earlier, AJ said freneticness, and in my head, I've just had the word freneticity floating around.
Love it.
I love freneticity.
Yeah, we're just doing words today.
Because at this point, we're right back in the world of we are rehearsing the show for audition purposes. We get the rehearsals for one.
Singular sensation.
Stapled up, point and point, click, step, kick, catch the head. Keep at the hip, follow through, up, down, feel the phrase, elbow right, down, point,
Step, brush. 3, 4.
suddenly nobody, step, flick, step, up, step, and step, lunge, slow,
3, 4, 5, 6.
Cat.
Kick. Step, brush.
palm up,
5, 6. Back.
If you ever have to learn that section of the show, it is so hard.
I believe
it.
insane.
I
I
can't
mean,
even
if you just
imagine.
look at all the text on this page, which when you watch it, it feels like it feels
it's
real.
incredible.
It
Yes.
feels like it's coming off the top of their head. Okay, I got to do this count. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Every part of the process is coming together at the exact same time in the way that it does, but it is all written down.
Yes,
it
It
feels
is
like
all
reading.
timed like a little fucking
Like a
evil
watch.
Swiss
Little
watch.
Swiss
No.
watch,
It's
yeah.
like reading noises off, right? And,
Yeah.
and seeing
Yeah.
like stuff that's happening on stage that lines up exactly with what's happening off stage. And if you do it by the
Yeah.
book, it all
And
fits.
this is an issue also, I will say, with the 2005 revival. If you watch the recording, the timing is wrong. If you go back to that first number,
It
it's
is
too
slower.
slow.
Yeah,
And the
a lot
fact
of
that
revivals,
it's too
yeah.
slow means that it doesn't fucking work.
Yeah.
Right, but then again, that the choice for it to be too slow this is where that verisimilitude becomes so challenging, because you can see the conversation in which they're like, realistically, we would learn the song slower, and therefore we should do it. And I'm like, it isn't real.
Exactly.
This is not real. This is not real people doing a real audition. It is a story about the experience of being a dancer in an industry that does not care about them. That is what Chorus Line is about. Stop acting like the reality of it is what tells that story.
Yeah.
The relationship to our understanding of the reality is what tells that story.
Yes.
And like, again, this is like, this applies to any story about truth.
And
right?
that's why they smash right through the tap dance sequence too. They just keep fucking going.
Yeah, and they need to show off the tap. We haven't had the tap dancers in the cast got to show off.
There was only one of them, and he did I Can Do That. And that's all
I
they've
think,
done as a soft
it's worth noting too, in terms of that tension, in terms of that feeling of being in an industry that doesn't care about you. Like, this is a chorus of 8. That's who gets through.
Right.
So this is also a commentary of what's happening in musical theater at the time that the show is being written, is that these choruses are like, if you look at this song is Mame. This song is the title song from Mame.
You make the cotton easy to pay. would put our little Dixie bells to shame. You've made us feel alive again. You've given us the drive again to make us.
If you look at MAME and you hear that,
I wouldn't recommend it.
and you see the performance of that song, there are 20 people in that chorus.
Right.
And now we're casting something with 8.
It's because we understand what's happening, right? There's 17 principals in the show, and we watch. We know that only 8 of them are going to book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the fact is that understanding that is what creates the dramatic tension in the show. It is a story in which the dramatic tension is explained to the audience, and then we go through it. And it's like, as we go into this, like one happens and we're like, now we're watching this thing. This leads us up into the injury, right?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
The
16 become 15.
Right. And that injury is, I think it's actually 17 becomes 16, which is actually.
Well, no. In terms of principals, yes, they're 17 because that includes Zach as the director. But on
there
the
are
line,
only 16 on the line?
I'm pretty sure.
There's 16 on the line.
Why are there 17 on this line?
Because one is the director.
One is Zach.
We are looking again at
Heath's line.
high school era show bill.
Anyway, the point, nice. The point being that
no ads for alcohol.
No. But the point is, like, we lose a body.
Yes.
And the point of that loss of the body is about the utter replaceability of you.
We're working through the dance. We're doing this stuff. And then Paul falls down.
Yeah.
And it's not
His knee
only,
pops,
it's something happens to his knee, and it's something that has happened before to his knee.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very real possibility as well that for Paul, his career as a dancer is now over because that's how compound injuries can work.
And beyond possibility, it is a certainty that he's not in this show.
Right.
He won't recover in time to be able to do this show. He's gone. He's going to the hospital. That's it. After we just heard all that shit about going to the theater and being molested.
It's
but
crazy.
he doesn't get to win.
Mm-hmm. No, he does not get to win.
But he does get to win a Tony. So.
He does get to win a Tony. Very important. And this leads everybody into a spiral. Well, Zach prompts it. He's like, what would you do if you couldn't dance anymore?
And this conversation also is very contemporary. Like they are talking about theater in the 70s.
Right.
Pretty explicitly at this point.
And
some of the answers are actually great.
Yeah.
Like the way that they respond to them.
In fact, I would say all this scene needs is the dialogue section.
You hate the song.
Unfortunately,
I don't hate the song.
I do.
Josh hates the song.
I don't hate the song, but I will explain my difficulties.
We should frame this up
How
here.
exciting.
The number is called What I Did for Love.
Kiss today, goodbye.
This is them singing about how they did shit for love. It's in the title of the song.
Yeah, well, it's specifically dance, right?
Yeah.
It's this idea that at the end of it, I know this will go away eventually because, again, like professional athletes, we're gone after a certain point. And we know that, but we don't regret it for a moment because we did it for love, and love can never really go
I would
away.
love it if the song was about that. Unfortunately, I just don't think the lyrics support it. I think they're way too broad. I think they lack specificity, and it's just about this thing that I had one time is gone and I miss it. That's why I don't like the song.
Joe Papp would agree with you, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Joe Papp thought that this song betrayed the rest of the script because he thought it was too pat.
I agree.
And
well, that's why he's not Joe Papp.
That is true.
He's not patting that big red bottom. He's spanking it.
So just to get all the sort of the negative thoughts about this song out of the way.
Kiss today, goodbye.
I think that this falls into the waving through a window problem where you could plug this into pretty much every single show and it would work fine. I think this could end Assassins and it would be fine.
I don't know about that.
That's a crazy statement.
I think it's just about it's so vague.
I do often love a more specific musical theater song. I don't necessarily hate this song for its lack of specificity to the moment because I think a chorus line in part of what it does is just reaches out to these different directions and it's never like totally grounded in the singular moment that it has to hit. I do think that some of the lyrics are a little too pat and, whatever. I think that's true kind of over the whole show. I don't feel it. I feel like this song subtracts from the feelings I was having with this really powerfully written scene, which conveys the ideas so much better. So my emotions are there for it. And again, I say this as someone who doesn't hate the song. I
also don't like this moment in a show because I don't like shows that feel like, and now we should all sit around and cry about something because I don't care. That is not what I experience in a show. But I also see this all over musicals. Musicals do this all the time where they're like, and now feel things.
The bad thoughts.
And
yeah.
I just like, would I cut it? Yes.
I think that this moment of let's all feel sad, I do hate those kinds of moments when they feel obligatory. I felt like that moment, the scene, the libretto scene, totally earns it. Yeah. I think this is a show about feeling bad in a lot of ways. And this is just continuing to deal with that further reality of being a dancer. However, this is not the moment that we end with.
No, we end on One, the actual performance of One. It seems like the show is over because Zach puts together the final cast and he's like, hey guys, you've made it.
And this moment is interesting because initially Bennett's idea was that the final 8 were going to be chosen at random.
Every single night.
Every single night. And everyone was like, every time Cassie was kicked off, they're like, fuck you, I hate this show.
It was also the costumers rebelled because they're like, we do not have time for the quick change.
Because that's
decide at random
what
every
happens
night.
Here is the greatest quick change in the history of musical theater.
So he calls 8 people forward, and then they're the ones who go.
He gives a professional speech being like, hey, welcome to the show. Rehearsals begin. The lights go down, but it's not over yet.
Yeah.
We start
Although it is, because One, as everyone's coming on, is also the curtain call.
Yes.
And it's a fantasy. We don't see 8 people dance up there.
We see all of them.
Everybody
including
dance
the swings.
up there.
One singular sensation, every little step he takes. One thrilling combination.
One is one of the most famous numbers in all of musical theater.
Yeah.
It's big, it's flashy, it's meme-like.
Yeah.
But where it's placed here feels darkly ironic. Of course everybody didn't get the fucking job.
Right, but this is the dream.
All of a sudden they have. And this is not a possible dream.
One of the things that's like very specific about this number is that everybody gets sort of elided into one thing. I mean, quite literally the audience, as they're doing their bows, you like can't quite tell
who's who.
This is like
they
the
merge
point
back
of
into the line. Yeah.
So when we remember that we are watching a musical,
right.
we are not watching reality.
Like, I don't know about that.
Well, but
I thought it was real.
When we talk
about my friend. Sheila is my friend.
But again, this is the tension at the center of what we're watching, right?
Yes.
This is a story. For me, when I watch One, I don't find it like the dream. I watch it and I go, this is the problem.
Yes.
I go, everybody is now, we have spent this entire show getting to know people individually, and the last number basically suggests that it is a line of people who go off into the distance forever.
Yes.
You point out that, yes, the swings get to come on during the last number, but the swings coming on during the last number is used entirely as a dramaturgical trick. It makes it seem like the cast is massive.
And to your point about it just being this endless chorus line, that is actually in the libretto. The note from Michael Bennett says, after the company has exited, mirror panels to black, the house lights slowly come up. After singers cut off, orchestra continues vamp phrase, very loud, until the cutoff from the stage manager. There are no additional bows after this, leaving the audience with the image of a kick line that goes on forever.
Exactly.
And in addition, lyrically, they're singing about some lady who's not there. Their big dream. I think this is why I still use the term dream, is that like it's show business people's dreams, and we're all sickos and masochists. And so our biggest dream is to just sort of do this and be completely indistinguishable from everyone else.
Right.
Then go on unemployment 4 months later.
Right. And do we think, and this is this like, as we're like wrapping up, because I do have to run, but I'm like, do we think that the thesis of the show, which suggests and presents this like it's good, I think is fundamentally antithetical to what people believe today. Today, the washing of everybody into one big line isn't experienced as good. And so the end of a modern chorus line wouldn't be one in which everybody is now
blends together.
Right.
I don't think you have to change it though, because I think it's all there. I think
agree.
the weirdness of it is just it's just such a strange assault of a moment, because we never end the show.
Right.
We're like, oh, they're bowing now? We're done. Okay. Oh, well, they're still going. And then they go away and you're like, well, what was that? Really?
Right. Except for
the discomfort is what I love.
I agree.
Do you experience it as discomfort now? Knowing what it's about, you experience the finale as
truly watched it for the first time 2 weeks ago. I found it to be a profoundly uncomfortable and strange experience
but
watching
I also think that there are a lot of audience members who don't receive it that way.
I was gonna say,
That
did
is
you
not how-
watch the ACL 50th anniversary?
Yes.
No. I didn't receive it that way. I thought that this was like, we are seeing them all achieve the dream, even if they got cut, that at some point the net will pick them up and put them in a show. And if not, we are giving them this moment here to shine.
Right.
Like this is a wish fulfillment for me. Yeah, and that's how I receive it, because the number is so fun and it makes you feel like you are on the line too, because it infects you with that joy.
Right.
So to end our story as abruptly.
Every bit as abruptly.
There is no bows.
Yeah.
No
There
bows.
is no bows.
Well, there's
There
sort
is
of
no
bows.
There are. I'm bowing right now.
You're bowing
I am
in a
bowing right now.
podcast form, which is to say, if people are interested in getting more information about you, following you around, whatever, what should they do?
I'm at Field of Heath on basically everything. If you ever want to know, if you want me to do this to you on Blue Sky, it is functionally the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And Spectra.Theater is my family's company. We this year took over IOBDB, so I'm actually a data freak. We capture a live performance data and display it for consumption. There's a lot of things on the horizon for what we're going to be doing with that. A lot of it has to do with how actors and designers and creative artists are related to the work that they create.
Yeah, please go check out everything that Heath does. They are a brilliant actor mind. And if you've enjoyed this episode of The Worst of All Possible Worlds, I've got great news for you. You can find even more of our episodes at patreon.com/worstofall, where for a mere $5 a month, you can get access to our entire back catalog, including the premium episodes that we do every other week.
And we also have a back catalog of musicals as well, including Sunday in the Park with George, which is a premium episode. And in addition to all that, we have bonus episodes. We have a monthly project that's just me and AJ talking movies. It's called Fancy Movie Time. Wow. And if you want to pay double that, $10 a month, you can check out Lads Cast, our
and
monthly,
hang out with us, lads.
Yeah, it's our monthly Shoot the Shit podcast that also includes DLC. Basically, whenever we cover a video game, we do the DLC over in Lads Cast. That includes the last part of Claire Obscure. That includes Outer Wilds.
That includes
Bloodborne,
the Old Hunters,
and Cyberpunk.
But our live show is still on sale. It's going to be in Brooklyn. It's going to be on May 24th. You're going to want to be there, and tickets are now on sale to the general public.
AJ, to play us out,
there's a line in a chorus line that's haunted me since I first interacted with it literally a week ago, which is...
It's been one week since you haunted me.
It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks since you haunted me.
Cassie says, God, I'm a dancer dances. And this is something I've been thinking about a lot as an actor in New York theater who hasn't necessarily acted in New York theater.
An actor acts.
There's a lot of reasons why a chorus line wouldn't necessarily hit in the same way today, but a lot of the stuff in it reverberates out. It's just not really about dancers anymore. I look at Broadway right now, and some of the top selling tickets are solo shows. And some of the musicals are solo musicals. This paring down of a company that started in the 1970s has now come to pretty much any and all performative aspect of theater. I mean, hell, even the ensemble members, these chorus members, are now required not only to be great singers, actors, and dancers, but some of them are required to play musical instruments.
Yeah.
But this idea that the amount that we are forced to carry on our shoulders in the pursuit of more capital, in the pursuit of more profit, to the point where it breaks our own fucking bodies over and over again. What I did for love doesn't hit for me in quite the same way, because it's like, yes, I did it for love, but I shouldn't have been made to. I shouldn't have been made to break my body so that somebody else can earn that money, that I do not see the fruits of my labor. God, I'm a dancer dances. So for the love of God, let them dance. I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
I'm the worst of all possible Bryans.
And I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
See you next week.